Hey everyone, I'm Jessi Lang, coming to you from JMJ Ranch, a 300-acre farm located in Thousand Oaks, California. Why am I at a ranch? Well, I needed a place where I could fit 9 vehicles, because I have for you today nearly the entire 2012 Mercedes-Benz AMG lineup. This is the SLK 55 AMG Roadster, the most powerful SLK yet. It has a 5.5-liter naturally aspirated V8 that produces 415 horsepower and 398 pound-feet of torque. Power is transferred to the rear wheels through the 7-speed automatic transmission, which features automatic rev matching when downshifting and shorter shift times under full loads due to interruptions of the ignition and injection when upshifting. As a result, you can take it from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, and it reaches a top speed of 155. If you opt for the AMG handling package, it's capable of 174 miles per hour. Bringing it to a halt are 14.2-inch disc brakes at the front and 13-inch discs at the rear. Of course, the hallmark feature of the SLK is the retractable hardtop mechanism. With a single button press, the roof is removed in approximately 20 seconds. The panorama roof can also be ordered with Magic Sky Control, which lightens or darkens the glass surface at the touch of a button. And of course, there's the SLS Roadster, a car developed from the racetrack and equipped with one of the most powerfully naturally aspirated V8s fitted standard to any car. Although I'd love to tell you more, I'm going to leave that to Carlos Lago, who'll show you how it tests on Monday's episode of Ignition. But in the meantime, I will show you the SLS Coupe. Among the things most noticeable about its styling is its massive hood, which is nearly 6 feet long, and of course it has the super cool gull-wing doors. And with this gunmetal paint job, it really has a Batmobile effect going on. What's really unique about this car is that it's the first AMG car that was designed in-house and approved by AMG. So most of the models prior to this were based on the series models of the Mercedes-Benz line and then enhanced by AMG or re-engineered by AMG. So this one was designed from the ground up by the engineers, and that's why it looks the way it does. So the engineers wanted to have a mid-engine design, and that's why you've got this very long and low silhouette. They wanted to have the weight as far back to the center of the vehicle as possible, and this car, even with its front mid-engine layout, actually weighs more in the back in terms of weight transfer than it does in the front. If you look at the overall interior design concept, it's clear that the designers were inspired by a fighter jet. They've got a lot of design cues here from aircrafts. If you look at the binnacles or the gauges, they mimic the housings you might see on a jet. They've got cross-hatch details, which come from the traditional Mercedes-Benz models. It has hand-fitted Napa leather, hand-stitched with a contrasting stitch, and it really gives it a nice upscale feel. They carried this through for the dashboard with all the individual panels, which are also hand-stitched. And this particular car is finished with the carbon fiber trim that they have on the center console. This car has a ton of power, it's incredibly fun to drive, and it is gloriously impractical. One feature that might be a little disorienting for drivers is how long the nose is. You really have to adjust to the car's proportions because chances are it's not going to be what you're used to. It's also a really low nose. Perhaps the most thrilling thing about this car is just the way the engine sounds. It is a beautiful soundtrack. The whole week I have not been listening to music at all, just the sound of the car. I fit very comfortably in the driver's seat, but my cameraman and editor extraordinaire, Brent, who is over 6 feet tall, cannot fit comfortably in here. He sort of has to hunch down to see out the windshield. So if you are over 6 feet tall, this is not the car for you. While the SLS class is coveted by some, others deem it far too impractical. So now it's time to get behind the wheel of a car that could be an everyday driver, the C63. Now this has been called one of the best performance cars of all time. And not only is it fast and powerful, but it also gets a lot of points for handling. People often debate which is better, the C63 AMG or the BMW M3. Now, although the engine on this car is not as loud as the engine on the SLS Coupe, it still produces some very nice music. And the chassis electronics are particularly impressive. The Stability Control Sport really lets you push the C63 Coupe to its limits. And despite that the car weighs more than 3,800 pounds and has a big V8 under the hood, the Coupe feels surprisingly well balanced. The steering's really sharp and responsive so you can corner with confidence and really maintain a strong sense of control. Visibility is clearly a whole lot better in the C63 than it is in the SLS Coupe, and there's nothing strange about this car's proportions to give you pause. In fact, it's the kind of car that quickly feels like home. It has a really smooth ride, acceleration supremely fast. In fact, you have to pay attention if you don't want to get a speeding ticket, because it moves so effortlessly that before you know it, you're 20 miles per hour over the speed limit and facing a reckless driving charge. It has firm but comfortable seats up front, but the back seats, as is often the case in a coupe, are not as spacious as a passenger might hope, so you might end up playing rock, paper, scissors to determine who has to sit back there. The multi-clutch transmission, or MCT, on this car is really pretty amazing. It sometimes bums out enthusiasts to not have a manual option, but the MCT is so good that you really can't feel like you're missing out on much. While the SLS Coupe's a pretty niche car, the C63 can really accommodate a wide array of buyers with different needs and interests. You can drive this car for the thrill of it and trust that it will get your adrenaline pumping, but you could also take it on a cross-country road trip or use it for your everyday commute. Quite simply, there really isn't much to dislike about this car. It's a love-at-first drive kind of ride, and I think it will quickly win over most of those who get behind the wheel. And perhaps that could be said for several of the models in the 2012 AMG lineup. Who doesn't like luxury combined with racing engine performance? But what you might not like is the price tag, as AMGs are among the most expensive models that Mercedes-Benz makes. Whether the car's performance justifies its cost is up to you to decide. No matter how discriminating your tastes or preferences, it's very likely that there's a vehicle in the AMG lineup that you could fall in love with. I'm Jessi Lang, and I'll see you next week.